Great, welcome everybody. My name is Mitch Rosen. I'm a consultant working with a variety of things in California. I'm currently the consortium director for two rural consortia, the Feather River Consortium up in Plumas and Sierra counties, as well as the Lassen-Modoc Consortium up in Lassen and Modoc counties. I also consult for the Inland Consortium. Hello, Emma. And I also do some work with the Barstow Consortium and the Sequoia Consortium in Visalia. And some of you may know me from my other hat, either working with Aztec Software or with CASAS. So welcome, and I'm going to let my colleague Alejandro introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I hope day 2 has been great for you. My name is Alejandro Clark. I'm a coordinator for the Adult Education Consortium here at Palo Verde River Consortium, specifically Palo Verde Community College. I don't have an extensive resume like Mitch, but I'm here and I've been here for about 3 years. I hope to share some good information and get some feedback from you guys. And yeah, let's get started.
So one of the things that we were talking about when we first put this presentation together, and Alejandro and I put this together for COABE this year for the national conference, but we thought it was so relevant and it was so well received that we wanted to share it here at the Cape Summit as well, is how is rural actually defined? You know, some of you are WIOA funded, some of you are not WIOA funded, but how is it actually defined? And it confused us because the US Census defines it as any area that's not urban. Okay, that's kind of a weird definition. So then we started looking for some actual maps. So you can see on this map that every single thing that is gray is considered rural America, which really repositioned our thinking for the challenges that adult education programs are facing if most of the country is facing these same issues. So then we drill down into Alejandro's area, and I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, so out here in Blythe, California, we're pretty far away from the rest of the world, I like to say. But I'd also like to say that we're in the middle of everything. I think that we're about 150 miles from Phoenix, 200 from Vegas, and 250 from Los Angeles. So we're like in this weird triangle between all those major cities. But we do have population around 21,000. We have 2 prisons that are included within that population. Our poverty level, as you can see some of that information here. What's unique about us is we are actually an adult education consortium that doesn't have an adult school within our consortium. A lot of our majority of our adult basic education services are provided through our community college. And then we also provide pilot programs with our member districts. So yes, we are far away. We actually have a center in Needles, California, which is 100 miles away from Blythe, California. So our programs are kind of spread apart in a wide range, and it allows us to kind of partner up with several different entities and agencies within both those locales. But it also presents a barrier for that, for as far as like traveling, transportation, and kind of having staff in both areas to cover majority of those programs. So we are met with a lot of challenges because of our rural location, but it also allows us to kind of partner up with local agencies in a higher capacity.
So as Alejandro and I were talking about the issues facing rural adult ed programs, what we really came up with was a list of barriers. And that list is what we're showing you now. And we're going to walk through these barriers. And it's going to be sort of a conversation that Alejandro and I have on each of the barriers, subsections of these barriers, and then he's going to share out with you what they did in the Palo Verde River Consortium to overcome some of these barriers. So the first barrier is cultural issues. And within cultural issues, we identified 6 different areas that are impacting their ability to provide services. So the first one is recognizing from the student perspective that education can actually lead to better paying jobs. So share information with us, Alejandro.
Yeah, definitely. To recognize that education can lead to better jobs. So individuals, since we're so far away, we were just actually discussing this. I was discussing this with Mitch. Riverside County, the county that we're in, is the city is actually so far away. the 150 miles between Indio, which is the nearest city from us, has a lot of opportunity. It has businesses coming from like Amazon and some of the other the bigger companies that hire and have partnerships with adult education programs. We don't actually benefit from that. So I've been trying to put it out there as far as like with our chamber of commerce and some of our local agencies. That way I can get local opportunities for our adult education students. And obviously, marketing is a big player within it. I think that being a part of a small location allows me to connect with the newspaper, the radio, and all the local resources that are able to put that marketing out there. And so it's up to me and our program to make sure that a lot of our programs, like our solar technician certificate, those opportunities are aligned with the skills that we're providing within our small region. And so we take it upon ourselves to reach out to local newspapers, local radio stations, the Chamber of Commerce. And so I have a little bit of a little set of individuals who help market those opportunities to our students. That way they know that there's better paying jobs, not just in San Bernardino or not just in Riverside, but there's actually opportunities out here that they can get skills and still stay out here, because that retention, once they gain those skills, sometimes we lose them to Riverside or sometimes we lose them to Indio. And so it's not a continuous program for them. So we do have resources with like career cruising, Indeed and Zello. We put an emphasis on that with all of our students for career exploration. And obviously, career pathways, aligning them with our educational pathways. And also to just keeping them in tune with their pathway is kind of one of our initiatives moving forward, keeping them along the way to build that portfolio. So at the end, when they do graduate with some skills, they do have kind of a full package to go and apply to some of those opportunities.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The next thing that you and I talked about was making sure that students actually feel welcomed once they do join a class. Once they overcome that first cultural barrier of getting in, how do you make them feel like they're part of it?
Yeah, so we really incorporate a lot of what we do with our students. I think a lot of the opportunities that we have here, like work study students for our college, we usually try to have our students apply for some of those jobs. So it gets them familiar with not only our adult education services, but our transition from our adult education to some of those opportunities as far as, within our college or within our consortium. So I think that once a student comes in to our consortium, obviously they're met with like a simple orientation, and we have like an entry form that allows us to gather some of that information about that particular student. And then for us, we have such a small student body that it allows us to call the student one-on-one. And so they get a lot more attention from us for that one-on-one aspect. And so they like that coming into the program. It makes them feel comfortable with our instructors and some of our staff too. So we really put an emphasis on making them feel like they are a part of our consortium. And we really try to provide them with the skills necessary. And because more than likely they're trying to move on to higher education, and we have counselors that we hook up with at the college. And then obviously we have partners with our local EDD for any type of career opportunities or job opportunities.
And that sort of leads into overcoming family expectations. Not every family wants their kids going to college or going back into an education program after they've left the K-12 system. How do you work with overcoming those types of cultural issues?
Yes, definitely. I think that, a lot of these problems, I'm pretty sure that, we all see, but I think in a rural community, it's a little bit different, especially overcoming some of that stuff. I think that families' expectations in a rural area are a little bit different than a bigger area, just because of the opportunity that little area provides. Maybe, like for my instances, going to college, I didn't have a university that I could just go to down the street and apply for. I had to, make sure I had having a living space. I had to, go to the apply for colleges in my surrounding area. So not all the opportunity is within our area. So being able to communicate with the community and letting them know that the services that we have will help them get a job, go to college and stuff like that. I think that that helps overcome some of those expectations for some of the families that want to see their child grow, or are an adult that wants to grow from that little area. So I think that within each of our programs, we put an initiative together to kind of cover that and provide information to keep them confident in their program. And once they finish, we definitely do a soft handout to the college as well. So overcoming those expectations are a big kind of challenge for us. I think that once a student gets familiar with what we can provide and who we are, that some of those expectations are a little bit lowered, and they kind of get on track with some of those realistic goals.
And that sort of leads into issues of immigrants and their credentials from their home countries. They may not understand that their credential transfers, they may not understand that their diploma can be counted. How do you work with culturally with the people in your region on those types of issues?
Yeah, definitely. I think that our ESL instructor, she does a wonderful job because she really kind of, like I said, we have a couple of instructional aides that we've actually hired through the program. And so those were students that were a part of our program. And so they're able to reach out to current students and potential students to kind of gather information about their past educational career and which ways that they can kind of implement some of that within the current program. And so I think that we get a lot of immigrants coming from, south of the border. We're really close to, Mexicali and Algodones and kind of those border towns that we get a lot of agricultural workers that come through. And, some of them, they stay and then they go back home. Some of them stay and they have their housing here and whatnot, and then they send money back. And so there's a wide range of student that comes to our consortium. And so I've actually had an instance where one of them came and she had an accountant degree from Mexico. And so our ESL instructor helped them kind of articulate some of that, so their degree to what comes across. And unfortunately, I don't think that it was articulated across, so she had to start over. But we are aware of some of those things, and we do help our students.
Very good. And then the other issue that we spoke about is, breaking that cycle of role models that students may not have at home. How do you actually let parents enroll in your adult programs? What supports do you offer for them if they are minding their children at home?
Yeah, so we do have a pilot program going on for our parenting education program. It really brings in the local community, as well as some of the staff here at within our consortium. So we're not only bringing in professionals, but we're bringing in professionals from the local community. So being a part of a rural location allows us to reach into some of the staff at the district, some of the instructors, or even here at the college. We've had our financial aid director come and speak to the parents about financial literacy, how to save money even from at a younger age. If your kid's in elementary, saving, putting a bank account together for savings for college. Those are all things that go into our program and information that we put out. So that parent program has been super great. Obviously, since the pandemic, we haven't had the ability to have our face-to-face sessions. So we kind of transitioned with that. But yes, definitely, our parents are super involved. I think that not only here at the college, but within the district, a lot of the parents who come to the college are, students at the college, but they're parents of district children. And so that success for K through 12 really kind of brings together both those entities. And so we're able to work as members to kind of put marketing materials out there for the district parents, as well as the college students here at the college. So I think that it's been a tremendous help in creating positive role models within parents to kind of help some of the younger kids go through their K through 12 careers.
Very good. What about using language to promote short-term programs? You know, there's a misconception out there, I'm showing it on the screen, you know, that college is not for me, it takes too long to get through a program. You know, what kind of strategies do you guys specifically use to overcome that cultural issue?
Definitely. I think that, you know, when you look at a college catalog, or if you go into, you know, course description, or even if you go, you know, to sign up for a class, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to see the pathway. And so if you're not, you know, in tune with your counselor and you don't have the academic plan, you know, I think something that I did was I put a flyer together and I put all the course information on that one particular flyer. So our sorry, off the top of my head, the solar technician program, I'm sorry. I was able to put all the courses within that flyer, also putting, you know, the time, you know, you could finish it within this much, it was free. And so all that information was on one piece of paper. And so that allowed someone to view that and kind of present goals on top of that. So they didn't have to go inside the catalog and look what classes it would take to kind of figure that out. So I think that consolidating that language for those CTE short-term programs allowed them to see the vision and see the goal in a short-term way. And I think that allowed them to kind of push themselves forward and say, yeah, I could do this in a short amount of time. And I think that that's the way we're going to be moving forward with that.
Fantastic. The next section that you and I dove into was socioeconomic barriers. You know, rural communities have their own challenges. They're very locally driven in terms of the economies. And we identified 3 issues that you specifically focus on as a consortium. The first is daycare. So, you know, parents do have issues. So how are you guys focusing on daycare as an issue?
Yeah, the Collaborate with College for Child Development Center to provide daycare, that was in terms of we have had students coming through our adult ed program who have benefited from the Child Development Center. They do hire instructional aides and they do hire support staff. And so any student who's looking into becoming a part of that industry, we do recommend them to the Child Development Center. But we have provided childcare within our parent project, and that is our parent education program that really allows parents to focus in on the topic at hand and the presentation while their child is being taken care of with our staff. So we split them up. You know, the kids over here are taken care of. They do their homework, they do games. You know, they're really active within that. And then we also have our parents on the other side. And then at the very end of the session, they all come back together and they discuss their experience. And for the most part, it's been great. And I know that a lot of them have told us that, you know, I wouldn't have came unless there was childcare. So it's a big barrier. I'm, you know, assuming that everybody goes through this, but I think in a rural area, I think that, you know, childcare is in high demand because of, you know, we work, some of our parents, you know, they work for the prison, and so they need that that service within our local community. So it's all taken away. So there's not too much out there for parents to go to and say, you know, I'd like to have a babysitter, you know. So providing that childcare is that one plus that we have to bring in more enrollment.
And that actually speaks to the next point, which is, if it'll flip, actually literally meeting the student where they are. And you guys do some very interesting things to make sure that it's not a one-size-fits-all program. You want to speak a little bit to how you actually meet those individual needs of your learners?
Yeah, definitely. Like we've had a lot of our programs, we were able to partner with the district, with the K through 12 district, and they were allowing us to use some of their facilities. So it's a facility that's familiar to the parents, and so we were able to use that and provide some of our programs. So they're familiar, they're ready to go, and I think that meeting them at a place that's familiar to them kind of it drops those barrier or those preconceived notions of what is this? I'm not familiar, I'm uncomfortable. No, they're actually going to a place where they're familiar with. So we try to keep that in mind because, anything, when you come to a foreign place, it's kind of an added barrier for yourself to kind of get familiar, get comfortable. And so it eliminates that and we get to hit the ground running.
And that's actually a perfect segue into the next topic that we talked about, which was, really finding how to provide funding for multi-generational services, because we know that in adult ed, it's not just the student in front of you. At home, they may be taking care of parents. They may be part of that sandwich generation. They have kids and parents. They have aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. So how do you guys specifically work as an adult ed program at the college to get those additional services to people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's one of the great caveats that we have as part of our consortium is that although we don't have an adult school, we do provide services through the college. And so our community is very familiar with those services as being a part of the college, but they are not familiar with the adult education side of those services being provided. So we've really been team connecting with CalWorks and some of the other programs like EOPS and DSPS with some of this stuff. We've been able to link with the college administrators and kind of be a champion for adult education within the college. And so it's growing, and I'm happy to see that a lot of the program or departments within the college are actually familiar with what we're doing now, and a lot of the services that are provided to some of those populations are going to be able to reap the benefit for adult education. So I always tell students to reach out to them, and if they're able to, if they're eligible to receive any of those services, definitely capitalize on that. So, and then even though they may, take a non-credit course and they don't have those credits to reap those benefits because, some of those programs are dictated on credit, there are opportunities to learn and to set goals once you do obtain your GED, that you will be able to reap those benefits.
Very good. So you're really looking at not just the student, but the family as a whole in getting the services to support the entire family through the education initiative.
Absolutely.
Moving on, the next thing that we focused on was immigration barriers. And we know that to overcome issues regarding immigration, you need a lot of community engagement. So one of the things that we talked about and you focus on is fear of accessing legal services. You want to speak a little bit about how you do that and what TODAC is?
Yeah, so particularly myself, I can't take credit for this. I'd like to let everybody know that our ESL instructor, she's very in tune with her students. She's very active within the ESL or English learner community. And so based upon her information and her feedback, that was definitely a need within our community. She was able to reach out to an outside agency by TODAC. I'm sure some of you kind of know that. And we were able to team up, and they come out to our faraway community college and provide free legal services to those immigrants. I was actually discussing this with Mitch on Friday. We're having an outreach event for English learners, and we're bringing in the author of Coco, and we're also having TODAC there and providing some legal services. So I'm excited to have that go on, and that's actually in teamwork with our EOPS program. And so I'm just piggybacking off of what they're doing, and I'm going to have a booth there for adult education. So it's going to be a great event, and I hope to provide some of those services there.
And I'm thoroughly jealous. I love that movie. It makes me cry every time I see it, and I'm always in Poquitito Loco. So, so again, this is you not just addressing the needs of the adult ed student, but really looking at the needs of the family. And if the family is supported, then they can in turn support the adult ed student that's a candidate in any of your programs.
Yeah,
I think. Oh, go ahead. So the next thing is the college application process and immigrant status. Do you want to quickly talk about that?
Yeah, so the college, some of the sensitive information, obviously like social security number, and some other sensitive information that immigrants come across and they may not want to provide. We've been trying to work around some of that and kind of augmenting and modifying some of our outgoing forms to be sensitive to that information and are sensitive to that person not wanting to release that information. And so we do take it upon ourselves that if we see that some of the information is not provided, that we do those one-on-one sessions with them, either over the phone or by Zoom, and to kind of see, what their feeling is based on that not providing that information. And so some of that information doesn't come across, but we think that that's okay as long as they're able to be comfortable with applying and enrolling in our program. We eventually will get that information down the road.
And again, that's supporting the family so that they're not nervous about joining a program and possibly having some immigration issues.
Correct.
So the big one, the gorilla in the room, is financial barriers. Everybody always says, "Oh, I can't afford school. How can I go to college?" Da, 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 da. So we took a look at what you guys actually do to support this through 3 different things. One is the FAFSA application workshops, scholarship workshops, and then busting some of those myths. So you want to tell us a little bit about how you're doing FAFSA for your students?
Yeah, so like I just kind of mentioned earlier about our parent project, I really try to reach out to local community members, instructors, staff members, as well as taking some feedback off of those post surveys from our program, and we really try to home in on some of those needs for the community, and we developed topics on that. And one of the biggest ones that came across was the financial literacy part that had to do with college and moving forward with college. And so we were really kind of tasked with not just providing a service for parents specifically with senior children and just going to college. We really tried to have a piece of information for every generation. So elementary school parents, middle school parents, and then also high school parents. So I think it was an opportunity for us to kind of put together some workshops to bring in some of those parents based off of that need. And we had a pretty good turnout. And I think that, some of them actually did complete their FAFSA by bringing in some of that information. I actually was able to bring in our financial aid director and her staff and build a workshop and kind of have that hands-on. They were able to look at some of that information for the parents. And then also to, it's a bilingual program. So a lot of the parents that came in who were Spanish speaking were able to get services too.
Great, and that sort of, you already spoke to this next slide about scholarship information, that you're doing financial aid workshops and your financial aid department is actually part of those in a bilingual way to make sure you're meeting the needs of the community. What about the difference between the myths and the facts?
Yeah, I think
all grants or loans.
Yeah, I think that obviously being a part of the college, we are definitely in collaborate a lot within not just with our students, but with the parents and with everybody who comes on campus. But our workshops are really kind of focused in on some of those myth busters. Do I have to make this much to get this much money, or do my parents make this much and I can't do this, and do I even qualify for this, and so providing as much information as possible within those workshops is definitely something that we do. And then obviously through our counseling and guidance on the college, I attribute all this to the college because they're really they put a step forward when helping out our students. So because they always feel that some of those students are going to be their students one day, and some of those students are already their students. And so it's been a big, tremendous help within our counseling system to provide that information, to knock down some of those myths, and to build fact-based information.
Fantastic. One of the other barriers you and I talk a lot about over time has been self-esteem, and that so many adult students just don't think that they're ready for it. They can't do it. It's too difficult. There's no way I can master the content. And we sort of came up with 3 different approaches that you guys take. The first is the second chance approach, then reentry support, and then empowering parents. So tell me a little bit about what the second chance approach is.
Yeah, the second chance. I mean, obviously with our GED program, it's a open entry program, so they come and they go as they please. And so it's always an initiative for our staff to kind of not react in a negative way when someone leaves and comes back. always kind of bring them in and say, how has it been going? What can we do for you moving forward? We're happy to see you back. Some of those things, work wonders with students who are coming back because they're still afraid. They may not, something may have happened within their life, and so they had to exit. So we try to provide as much services like within the tutoring. I know that, another thing from the college, we were able to collaborate is providing their tutors were actually able to provide services to our adults in our for our GED preparation courses. So they're not only getting help from us, but they're getting help from that college student. And so that in itself is transitioning them to higher education because they get to see, they get to talk to somebody, and they get that I guess you could say second chance. And then we also have the Summer Bridge program. I hope to kind of build off of this. I don't think we had one last summer, and I know the college does this, but I think in the future, I think this would be a great caveat for us is building that bridge program from adult education to the college, because I think that's a lot. We already do that within a lot of our programs.
And one of the things you said at the beginning when we first started is that one of the economic drivers in the community where you are is the correctional settings. And they're an employer, but they're also a place for people coming out who are looking to get back into the education pipeline. So how do you provide reentry support?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of our community, we have, like Mitch had said, we have 2 major prisons out here, and some of those employees actually transfer from different locations. And so we have families here that are not displaced, but they actually move away, and some their dad or their mother works for the prison now, and then they're in a new location. But on the other side of that, we may get some of those individuals who are getting released from those prisons, and so as they become on probation, then we're able to reach out to the probation department, and we've built kind of a communication and a referral system through that program. And so I'm super excited to kind of make that connection a little bit stronger and fight and be a champion for those, because I know a lot of them are discouraged about getting a job based off of their what they were charged with if it was a felony, and then they can't get a job. And so a lot of them have to work through barriers that others don't. And so that reentry into some of our programs is definitely something we focus in, and we definitely identify employers who are willing to interview or hire somebody that's coming from someone who has a felony. So,
and then empowering parents. How do you do that? How do you break the myth that men are the providers?
Yeah, so our outreach events, we try to have them. Obviously, since the pandemic, we haven't had a bunch, but being a part of a small group and a local community, we are able to team with a lot of local agencies and provide outreach, as well as the college. The college is very active within the community, and so like I just mentioned, our COCO event that's coming up, that's really kind of in our eyes empowering not just the parents but the community. It allows them to see that someone who's as famous as the person who wrote the book of Coco would like to come to our small community and provide at that event they're going to be able to get resources to that too. So our outreach events really empower the community, and also too not just the outreach, but once they're within our program, we really like to expose them to any of the local opportunities. That way they know that there's an end goal to what they're doing.
Sure. So the next topic that you and I talked about was seasonal enrollment fluctuations. And this is sort of different depending on where you are in California. I know that, up north where I am a consortium director, they have issues because in fire season, they're doing massive trainings for CAL FIRE, EMT, paramedics. In your area, it's more driven by migrant workers. So talk to us, briefly about how you address the migrant worker education issue.
Yeah, so in our eyes, it was kind of puzzling to see that we had this community of individuals who were coming from Mexico, but they weren't taking advantage of some of our programs and services. So we really kind of put a discussion group together and really teamed together to kind of see what we can do. And we piloted a short-term career-focused language course. And so we were able to work with some of our English language instructors and put together a small program that allowed them to not learn the entire English language, but really learn what their career is focused on. So whether it be safety language, whether it be process language, or whatever the case may be, we were able to kind of put some of that together and focus it on agriculture. And then the way we outreach was we actually went to the date fields, we went to the broccoli fields, we went to some of the local fields around us. We were able to team up with some ranchers or rancheros, and we were able to market some of our stuff right on the field. So we had field workers kind of grouped together, and then we would talk to them about our courses and programs. So it was an elevated level of I guess a strategy to market our programs. We knew that this program was really focused on agriculture, so we hit those fields, and we had actually a pretty good turnout. And I think that pilot program had really a good turnout and success. So something that we may look into moving forward for sure.
Very good. Just doing a quick time check. We've got 20 minutes left and 30 slides, so I'm going to start moving a little quicker.
All right.
So the other thing is WIOA, and WIOA is a challenge for small districts, for small consortia. And I know that you are currently not WIOA funded, but do you want to speak a little bit to that? I think it's in some cases, it's the gorilla in the room. And I know that it can be a pain point.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been within the consortium for around 3 years now. Before I came, they were WIOA funded. I think that we're looking into increasing our capacity as a consortium and recommitting to WIOA. But when we were a part of WIOA, I think that everything that has to go involved with reporting, data reporting, and the expectations, it just was too much for our staff. I think that I can elaborate a lot on that, but like Mitch said, we're kind of short on time.
No, that's fine. Neil's in the room. He heard it. Hi, Neil. Language barriers are another issue. And when we started talking about language barriers, it's not just the ability to speak, it's the ability to think, it's the ability to process cultural information. So one of the things that you have done is brought in bilingual counselors.
Yes, yes. I'm super excited about this too. We're actually going to be getting into getting an academic advisor as well, because over this past couple of months, we were able to kind of assess some of the new needs based off of the pandemic. And so it was apparent to us that a lot of our English learners, they didn't have laptops, computers. All they were using is their small cell phone. And so even at that, they weren't going online on that cell phone. And so based off that information, we know that calling those individuals on a one-on-one basis was the best practice. And so having a counselor that's bilingual and also have an incoming academic advisor that's bilingual, we're going to be able to provide more workshops, provide a stronger transition team, and also to break down some of those barriers for bilingual individuals. So I think that we are putting together a stronger team within our counseling system, and I hope that that'll grow our program, and obviously our capacity will grow too.
And when you say bilingual, it's not just Spanish. I think a lot of assumptions are made that we're dealing with Spanish-speaking ESL students. I mean, the county where you are actually has 145 spoken languages in it. So your solution was to modify your website.
Yeah, so we're working on that. We have several languages for our website now. And so for me coming into the program, being not too familiar with our ESL, I always thought ESL was Spanish driven, and it was all about Spanish. But just most recently, we had a group of Filipino individuals come to us and want ESL opportunities, and so we're looking into that, and hopefully we may build upon that. We're not quite sure how big that group is, or if we can sustain something like that, but I think definitely providing information within multiple languages helps break down that barrier for a lot of the other languages besides Spanish.
Absolutely. And then you have a translator available.
Correct. So within our parent project, obviously, a lot of the guest speakers that we have come in, they're from the local community, and some of them, they may not know Spanish. And so we were able to have a live translator on site for our program. We were able to put little transmitters inside the ears of the English learner community, and they were able to translate from the guest speaker to the community, to the group, and they were also there to provide answers to any questions that they had. So that translation aspect kind of brought in more individuals from the Spanish speaking community. I think that our next step is to provide more topics that are targeted for our English language learners. But yes, definitely that was a great caveat for our program.
And that ties into, you actually have instructional aides who are bilingual in different languages to support your learners.
Yes, I actually have a really great story. We get excited. So I'll just name drop her, Maria Sabero. She was actually someone who came from Mexico, went into our ESL program, transitioned to higher education, got her associate's degree. Then she became an instructional aide for us. And now she's a full-time employee at our K through 12 district. So she went through the full pathway. She's a wonderful student. So she was one example that we used for our future instructional aides. And so we are very excited to build upon that. So we definitely encourage our ESL students to apply for the instructional aid positions. And that way they know the student, and then they know the community, and then they know the system.
And then they're joining the employment pipeline. So
yes,
you've got, school to work covered by hiring your former students,
absolutely,
actually, who've been through the system, and then they know how to help other students come through it.
absolutely.
That's amazing. The next thing that we talked about is academic barriers. We know that remedial education is needed in a lot of the community colleges, in reading, English, and math. And that first-time college students are more often placed into a remedial program than those who have had some sort of exposure before. So in terms of the expectations of adult ed, how do you address that in terms of self-paced courses, open enrollment, et cetera?
Yeah, so being a part of the community college, it was a big thing when they took away the assessment test and placement tests. So a lot of those remedial courses were taken away from the college, and so they were placing students were getting into college algebra who may not necessarily needed to be there. And so we took it upon ourselves, and we continue to take it upon ourselves to reach out to some of those individuals. And even though they may have a high school diploma, we try to reach out to the tutors and try to provide that supplemental educational piece to that, and provide those services to supplement those remedial courses and help them gain enough skill to get into those college algebra classes. So
a lot of this is really leaning back into that wraparound services, the counseling, the supporting the whole student. And one of the ways you do that is leaning into the DSPS offerings.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. They're super great. They actually have a lot of note-taking services. They have bigger laptop screens for individuals who have vision issues, and then they also have someone there to read for individuals who have sight problems. So they have a lot of resources for our students that we try to reach out to them. A lot of them are obviously have have a criteria that they have to fit in order to get some of those resources. But I do refer a lot of our students to the DSPS office. Some may get services, some may not, but we're kind of teaming up, and in the future we're going to kind of build a better pathway for some of those students as far as getting them, knowing the qualifications and knowing what they're able to get.
And part of that pathway is literally putting them on the campus to walk the pathways. So, and making them understand that college is not for 18-year-old kids. College is for adult learners as well. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so right before the pandemic, we actually were in collaboration with the K through 12 district. They put an emphasis on wanting parents to know, that there is college opportunities out there, and they want them to know, what our local community college can offer them. And so we built a program where we were going to bus parents from the local high school to the college. And then we were going to have a couple of transition counselors kind of get a couple cohort groups or just a couple groups together, and then take them around some of our CTE facilities, or some of the sports facilities, and some of the other kind of computer rooms. And it was just us getting the parents on board with what's out here, because a lot of them, they have never even visited our community college. And so we took it upon ourselves to do that. Unfortunately, since the pandemic hit, we weren't able to do that. But I think in the future, maybe even a virtual one would be great. Or, hopefully these regulations will soften up, and so we can get some parents out here.
And, just to remind people that, for the more rural areas, the community colleges tend not to be in the downtown area. Most of the colleges are outside of town. So unless you make an effort to go out and see them, it's not a place that you would naturally, wander past on your own.
Yeah.
Moving on to job versus college. Everybody, a lot of people will say, oh, I got to work. I don't have time to go to school. So you've developed a couple of things at your college, including distance learning, flexible scheduling, and then an HSE program. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you approach distance learning?
Yeah, so I mean, we made this for COAB a while back. I think it was before the pandemic. So, distance learning really wasn't a big thing as it is now. But, everybody had to transition. And I think that, for us, definitely providing online learning capabilities or opportunities enhanced the experience for our consortium. And so having a hybrid model allowed us to reach into a population where, like Mitch said, our community college is around 6 to 7 miles away from actually downtown area. And so, that barrier just didn't allow some of our students to come on campus. So having that hybrid learning model allowed us to provide some of those services at a distance learning aspect.
And then you also do flexible scheduling?
Correct. We had our night classes, our morning classes, face-to-face, online. So we've really tried to provide it in any and every different way. Obviously, a lot of the work that's done out here is agriculture. So there's really early mornings where individuals will go out into the field and pick lettuce and pick broccoli, and then come in and to the night school and get their GED. So we really tried to make it a goal of ours to provide as many modalities as possible.
And you're scheduling around the shift work that a lot of people are doing, whether it's the correctional facility or in the farms or the ranches of the area.
Correct.
Then you had an initiative to, sort of focus on people who needed to get their high school equivalency in order to either keep a job or, more importantly, or find a job, but more importantly, keep a job that may have had some shifting requirements for eligibility.
Yeah, definitely providing those courses in partnership with local social service offices. So I reached out to the DPSS office as well as the EDD office. And we actually had a GED preparation course housed within the social service office. And so that was, for whatever reason, before me. And they're actually open to reestablishing that connection. So I'm looking forward to putting a GED preparation course at the facility for social services. So when you go, apply for welfare or apply for any of those other programs, that you're going to see our adult education services and the classroom and the people coming to class right there. So I'm pretty excited about that because that gives us another satellite program that we can expand our consortium.
And again, that's literally meeting the student where they are, literally, and figuratively. If they're applying for SNAP or TANF or some other, social service, they're going to get your services where they are. And I think that's critical. The next barrier, we've got 2 barriers left. The 11th barrier we talked about was digital literacy and internet access. I think especially in the pandemic, when you look at what goes on inside a 60-second period online, people are just on their smartphones and using the internet. So the issues that we talked about was computer literacy, the application process, using an online delivery mode such as Aztec, or using Rachel, through OTAN for internet access. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you address computer literacy?
Yeah, we have a new non-credit course that we're providing through the community college, Computers Made Simple, and it's a bilingual course offered through the college. And so I definitely refer any new student to that particular class. And it's a really have worked wonders with some of our students, especially the English learner community. The distance learning aspect, it kind of it didn't allow some of our students to come back to us. So our enrollment went down based off of that. And so we think that basic computer skills is essential when it comes to enrollment, because if we're asking them to fill out an electronic form and they don't know how to access that or to submit it, then we're going to have issues. And so we definitely take it upon ourselves to definitely recommend that class.
And then the application process is now online, and
Right.
you can have students work through that with a counselor remotely.
Correct. Yeah. So we do have our students complete a CCC apply for any non-credit courses. And then we have our supplemental application for our GED preparation program. So we do kind of do a small little one-on-one orientation for incoming students to see what they would like, what services they want to apply for and enroll in. And so based off of that information, we go forward with either both of those applications or just one.
And then I know that you've also used Aztec in the past to help get your GED students ready, and that's your online solution.
Yes, bless Aztec software. They've been tremendous with us. Actually, I just spoke with, or I'm gonna speak with an individual about getting a Spanish GED Aztec software. And so I'm excited about that. Our ESL instructor actually just reached out to me this morning and said, because I know that I think this was in place, but I think rolling it out has been a little bit slower as far as the Spanish online material. And so she's seen that. And so we're gonna jump on that as soon as possible. But yes, Aztec software is something that we definitely use. And I've also looked into using some other software for a math lab. And so hopefully that'll work out in the future as well.
Great. And then finally, internet access. It's tough. I mean, I'm sitting in Palm Springs, and there are parts of Palm Springs where I don't get cell service. So, I mean, you want to speak a little bit to Rachel?
Yeah, I won't. I mean, I think that you brought this one up based off of another, I don't know what it was, but yeah, we have definitely issues out here. We're so far away. Internet service is definitely a need out here. Obviously, obviously everybody in that's dealing with distance learning needs internet. But here the quality of internet, if you're in a Zoom room and it's skipping every 5 seconds, or you have to, take away your video just so your sound, just so it doesn't skip, it takes away from the learning experience. And so we're able to provide some of those laptops, but internet is the end all be all, so I think that a stronger internet, free internet is definitely something that we would love to be a champion for out here in this rural area.
There are definitely issues across the country with internet access. Our final topic, we've got 3 minutes, so I think we're going to make it, is persistence, student persistence. So you use two different ways. You use a cohort model and you use group texting. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you use the group texting?
Yeah, definitely. So WhatsApp, I'm sure majority of you use this as well. So like I said, our English learners, they really respond well to that one-on-one texting. I don't know what it is. They just feel comfortable with it. So we've taken it upon ourselves to build a WhatsApp number. Each of our instructors have a WhatsApp number so they can communicate with their actual small class. We also have Facebook groups that we put together. And then most recently, I've been in partner with Signalvine. It's a program or a resource that, a resource that we have that'll allow us to have a texting number. And so on my flyers, I'll put a texting number on there to tell the community, if you have any program questions, text this number and you'll get a response. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully it'll bring in more enrollment.
And then you also use cohorts, which is something that we've seen successful across the state. I mean, coming to mind off the top of my head is the Inland Career Education Center in San Bernardino, where they very purposely put students into cohorts to create that social and emotional support group to encourage persistence and reduce attrition. So what are you guys doing for that?
Yeah, so I have a colleague of mine. She's doing great work with our ESL community. She's building cohorts of individuals who will be going on that career exploration. And so she's building groups and providing career services to them. And so that's based off of in conjunction with our ESL program. So yeah, we definitely put together groups of individuals, and it like you said, Mitch, it does bring in that camaraderie. It does bring in a stronger spirit. It does bring in a stronger connection between the group. And so the success rate is very high within those groups.
Fantastic. So this is our conclusion. I think we came in time. We hope that there was information in here that'll help you to get your students over some of the barriers in the rural areas of the state. I know that it's an area of focus. I know Carol Hirota is discussing it. I've talked to her, a couple other people about it. So thank you, Carol, for your support in this. And I know that Veronica had a couple questions in the chat that I wasn't able to see that she wanted to chime in with.
Okay, so the first one is from Wendy Jackson. Will TODAC come out to a K-12 adult program, or does it have to be a community college adult program?
That's a good question. I'll grab that one. TODAC is an organization in Southern California, so I think that we would need to identify who provides those types of services up in Northern California. TODAC is based in the Inland Empire. But yes, they come out to anybody, but we need to figure out who in your region would be the equivalent of TODAC.
All right, and then the second question is from Claudia. How do you handle CCC apply? Some community colleges require to fill out CCC apply and declare they are undocumented.
Yeah, we do have that supplemental application for our GED students for the ones who do not want to provide that stuff, because we know that, you know, if you don't provide that, you can't submit the application itself. So we do have that supplemental application for those individuals who don't want to provide that information.
Great, thank you. And I did see that I think Burr asked if we would be sharing this PowerPoint. Yes, we'll send it to Veronica and she can put it through the accessibility requirements and it'll be shared with everybody. This is information for you. We don't need to keep it.
All right, well.
So
thank you, everybody. Veronica, do you want to wrap up or?
Well, so I'd just like to say something. Thank you, everybody. This is my first time doing this. I hope I did well. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Veronica. I'd like to connect with more rural area consortia. So please take down any information that you can from our slides. And then if you can provide any feedback to me, I'd definitely appreciate that. You know, Feather River is definitely a consortia that we connect with. And so building a stronger network for a rural area consortia would be great.
Veronica, maybe this is something that we look about as a potential PLC.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you all very much for your time and your participation this afternoon. I have posted the chat, so definitely let Mitch and Alejandro know what you thought about today's session. And the jam sessions are starting now. So if there's a topic that you would like to engage in conversation with other colleagues about, we'll end this session and pop over to the jam sessions. So thank you all very much for your time. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.